Verbal communication in preparing and delivering the speech. Before the speech, there are several things to think about prior to preparing for your speech. The subject, the audience, visual aids needed. All this will help me in preparing for my speech, or for you preparing for your speech. What topics do I need to cover? Which topics are more important that I need to spend more time on, more research on, if I don't know them, or if you don't know them or are not familiar with it? Make sure you know the subject, and make sure you know it well enough that you can deliver your speech properly and that it is understood by the audience. And you can understand with the audience, are they paying attention to you? Are they enthused by it? Will the audience ask me questions? And what kind of questions? Be prepared ahead of time for these questions and knowing and understanding the subject so you know the answers. You may not know exactly what questions they may ask, but you can kind of have a better understanding. Oh, when you're preparing, what question would I ask? You can kind of simply ask yourself those and kind of have notes and jot down in case they will ask you a question that's similar. Not only knowing your subject, but know why you were asked to give this speech and why this subject. Is it business related? Is it related to work, your job that you're a part of? How about an organization? Are you a part of an organization in your community? Are you a SME? Are you a subject matter expert? Is this a piece of equipment that you have that you need to come and describe? No? Is it something that's in the medical field that you're giving a proposal about? No? Is this delivering a speech to upper management? Could this be potentially for a new job or for a raise? Begin to know and understand your audience. Knowing the audience involves understanding others, their perspectives, to see if they understand your words, examples, or the frames of reference you use to communicate your experiences, points, and conclusions. Know how your audience needs to communicate so you can communicate with them in an effective message. This is all in knowing your audience. So who is my audience? Are they business leaders? College or grade school kids? People at your job, your community? Knowing your audience and understanding them will help you prepare to deliver your speech. Prepare your speech based on your audience, your subject, your knowledge of the subject, the research that you have learned on the subject to better prepare yourself. One good preparation is knowing what you'll wear. In delivering your speech, you know your audience, you know exactly what you can wear, how well you can dress, or definitely don't want to dress down. You do not want your wardrobe to create a distraction to your audience. You want your audience will help you pick out your dress code. Okay? So once you have prepared and you're ready to deliver your speech, so during your speech, you need to identify yourself, give criteria about yourself that identifies you with the topic and the audience, creating a link between the two. You want your opening statement to get the audience's attention, and once you have their attention, you don't want to distract them with anything that they might not dwell on except for the words that you're delivering to them. Speak in a manner so that audience can perceive that you know your topic, that you understand what you're talking about, that you like the topic, that you want to be there delivering your speech. During the speech, what is your language? Watch your language. Speak professionally and fluently about the subject. While delivering your speech, make sure to watch the audience. Watch their reactions. Or maybe no reactions. Are they bored? Are they falling asleep? Are they yawning? Are they taking notes and showing interest? Are they fixing to hit me back with questions and kind of shock me? If the audience isn't paying attention, have a method to bring them back in, to pull them back in, to get their attention so they can become more involved. Okay? So now you gave your speech. So after the speech, identify yourself by displaying a means to the audience to contact you. Maybe you want to give them a business card, telephone number, email. Let them know they can contact you in private, or you'll be there after the speech. They can come and communicate with you. Ask them if they have any questions or feedback. Be open and receptive to those questions. Leave them knowing you have just given them speech. And when I did this leave them knowing you have just given them a speech was a big part of me. When I began my college career, I was 18 years old, and I had a geology class. And the professor I had always wanted to call on me to come to the front of the class all the time, to come to the projector. And say, "Hey, Hans, please come up." Well, when I go to the front of the class, I'm like, I don't know about these rocks. But he'd always ask me like I knew. Well, we were put into a group of 4 people, and we were asked to give a speech. And each person had a different subject or a topic they had to speak on. And mine was on the uses of water. Well, I was very excited. I was looking forward to this speech because I knew what was coming. So I prepared everything that I've just spoke about. I prepared this way. I knew who my audience was. I knew that my classmates were there. I knew the professor was going to be there, and that was a key. I wanted him there. I knew how I was going to dress, very, very nice, dressed up as if I was going to church on Sunday morning. So I prepared for this speech, and I had all my posters and everything read, and I had practiced several times in a room by myself for the speech. So the day come, I got up there to give the speech. We had to speak about 2 to 3 minutes, and some people, they were just nervous and didn't want to do it. And actually, I think one guy didn't even show up to do it. But it come my time, I got up there and I delivered my speech, and I got to the end, and I had told him, I said, all the uses of water that I found, I showed my visual aids, and I said, there's one more use of water. And I looked across, and I told everybody in the class, I said, the professor always wants to call on me to come up to the front of the class, always. And I said, you know why? I said, my brother used to date his daughter. And I said, my brother is very smart. And I said, I'm very thankful that he thinks that of me, but I said, I'm here to learn. And I said, so this is for you, professor, for always calling me to the front of the class. I said, the best use of water that I have found is a wet t-shirt contest, and I held up a poster. So you can imagine the jaws that dropped in that class. I got an A on that speech. I definitely left an impression. I don't know what they thought of me at the time. Of course, I was 18 years old, young and dumb. But I assure you, I was never asked again to come to the front of the class. So I definitely left an impression on the class and him.